Welcome to Baseball Biz on Deck, and it is opening day for the Tampa Bay Rays at Tropicana Field. Hey, Matt, how you doing, brother?
I'm a busy guy, Mark. Life's taking me by the horns.
Oh gosh, I was wondering about how the rest of us would be feeling pulled in today to Tropicana Field, and was wondering how everything was going to play out. Things did pretty well today, man. I turned on actually first I'm listening to the radio earlier today, and I'm hearing scuttlebutt again about the stadium coming from a Shin Hagen saying, things are looking really good. I said, yeah, okay. But let's get to the fun of the day. Let's talk about opening day at Tropicana Field. And lo and behold, it was excitement. The first game after, I think it's 561 days, a game is being played there. And almost over 900 plus games, Shane McClanahan takes the mound there. It was just an amazing feat. The excitement in there, it was throbbing, it was pulsing. People were just unbelievably tied into this. So, as looking at the folks at the Trop, it looked pretty good. I mean, as always, there's going to be some seats that aren't there, but I could tell you, Matt, when I was hunting for some seats this morning, the lowest I could find price wise was $162 for a seat, and by early afternoon it was $260 a seat. So they were selling them out pretty well, and things were good. So that kind of gives you an idea of what was happening with that.
The capacity is 25,114, I think, and that's what they announced as the attendance. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, and it was good to see the folks in the stands and to see the excitement and hear the reverberations in there. And some of the unique things too my understanding is that the roof now doesn't have two layers on there as far as protecting. What they have now actually allows more light into the field. So the Trop seemed more well lit than you would anticipate for a day game. So
Hmm.
that was pretty cool. And
That's
one,
interesting. So do you think that provided a different contrast for the outfielders that were fielding the balls when they got up in the air? Like, is it wider than the old version, making it tougher to pick up the balls when they go up?
I don't know. I mean, because it is going to be different, and it looked clearer. I mean, almost if you think in the past, when I think of the Trop, I think of almost a yellowish light.
Hmm.
Now, I don't think that it looks fluorescent now, but I think it is brighter. How's that impacting them as far as getting back to the warning track and being able to judge? Well, there were some good plays made today. It wasn't okay. You saw the highlight from the other day. Who was the gentleman with the Angels? Um,
Yeah, Joe Adele.
Adele. Oh my gosh. Let's talk about that for a minute. Have you seen that kind of much fun in a game? That was fantastic.
Yeah, he made that first catch and then he pimped it a little tiny bit, but not much. He was just like, okay, this is awesome. I did it once. He did the second one, and that one he kind of, he puffed his chest out a little bit more. He was more pumped. He was like, two, I got two. And so he was excited. The crowd was excited. They're like talking about it. Oh, you don't see that every day. Same outfielder, it very similar looking way took the ball back from over the fence. I would say jumped a little bit higher on the second one than the first one. But the third one was the highlight reel one because not only does he go over the fence, tumble over it, and then flip up with the glove in the air with the ball still in his glove, and he jumps up and he's just standing there looking at the crowd and pounding on his chest, and that is a moment where you're waiting for as a fan of Major Leagues or of the Angels, because it's that rarity of the moment where it's a third, home run stolen in the game, and they end up winning the game 1-0 on top of it. So, you literally can say he stole the game from the Mariners, which is outstanding.
That kind of excitement just thrills any baseball fan, whether you are an Angels fan or not, to see that kind of performance. I think everybody would stand up and applaud that.
Mhm.
But today's game was interesting because every run did count. And
Mhm.
the Rays were looking good. I tell you what, I did not anticipate seeing a home run from Cedric Mullins. And
Right.
So that was fresh and exciting, and there was somebody on base. So that was two of the RBIs. The other ones I wasn't as amazed by. I mean, I expect sometimes to see something from Junior Caminero. I mean, it's his second home run of the year, which is I love that, and Jonathan Aranda as well. So in each of these cases, they had somebody else, I believe, on base, and were able to go ahead and bring those runs in. So that was exciting. Let's see, and the Cubbies came up because if he hadn't brought in that extra two runs in the seventh, it would have been a tied game after the Cubs came up, because the Cubs that would have been put us at four, and the Cubs put up another run.
I think when like I missed the game. Like I had to digest it after the fact.
Right.
So unfortunately, I can't speak to what happened on the field. So I'm looking at the box score. What I see is every Rays except for two got hits.
Yeah.
Taylor Walls was back in there, got a double. He chipped in, offensively. The bottom of the lineup were all productive. They each got a hit except for one guy. The one guy that didn't get a hit actually got on base with a walk. So all but one were able to reach base safely in the lineup. And Shane McClanahan threw, and he threw well for 4 innings. Like you combine all of those things together, and it was a real team effort in this case. Chandler Simpson stealing two bases, contributing, and with the way that he knows how to do it. It's a very Rays win. It's a well spread out. But like you were mentioning with the home runs, anytime the Rays hit 3 home runs, I feel like they have a good chance of winning. And Caminero hitting his second is encouraging. Ronda continuing his hot start with another home run and hitting his third. I think also, I don't know if you've been watching Baker throw in the backhand of the pen, but he seems extremely determined to earn a shot at the closing role.
Oh yeah.
And it's really nice to see somebody get that amped up. Last year when he came over, I felt like he was lacking emotion and he seemed to be trying to find, I don't want to call it his spirit, but his kind of mojo, right? And when I saw the highlights in this, I was just like, you know what? Like this guy's pumped and he's dealing, with confidence, which is what you need as a closer. So all in all, on paper, for me, it seems like a very strong win for the Rays, and it's a continuing the momentum that they built in Minnesota, where they're starting to find their very Rays groove, in terms of how they win, tightening up the pitching, tightening up the defensive play, and being a bit of a pesky on the bases team.
It was indeed, when you think of all the different types of activity that brought in that win. And to see Shane McClanahan, Ryan Bass was asking about his performance at the end of the game. He said, "We won." And you could tell he was happy about that, but only so much, because being the pitcher that he is, he wanted to do more than 4 innings. He was
Mhm.
wanting to put in more. And he had found himself in a situation where he had to correct some different things he was doing on the mound. And it looked like those things were falling into place. But, I guess the statistics and analytics people said, "You need to pull him now, Kevin." and, and they did. But he seemed to, he's pleased with the win. At Baker, you mentioned him too, because I mean, he did he did allow a home run in the ninth, and that could have been, like I said, consequential. But he also, he was at up there as far as, let's see, did he have yeah, he had two strikeouts. So two strikeouts in the tenth ninth inning, rather. Jeez, where am I going? 10th inning. That was last night, wasn't it? Oh well. Uh, I'm popping all over the place here. I haven't had enough Mountain Dew yet. And
Yeah.
but though, going back to how things started out, it seemed a little bumpy at the beginning. Andy Freed was out there with his microphone and going to be talking a little bit about the history of the Trop and welcoming everybody out, and had some issues with the mic, and some sound. But those are the kind of things you almost expect with an event like this. They have some new features as far as the media is concerned in the Trop. One of those is they have, one of those cameras that slides across on a wire. You think of like at the
Yep.
NFL and that sort of thing. So that's a new piece. But there was one other, Matt, and I just had to scratch my head and say, "Really? Is this something that's going to look like Vex fireworks in the Trop?" We're they've got a live drone flying around in the stadium as well. So I can't imagine a drone flying in the stadium. Not to mention people might be a little anxious anyway seeing that. It's taking footage of the game as well. So
Oh, I've been harping for it. I want to see more of those. I'd have a half dozen of them if it were me, Mark, so that I can get any camera angle that I want. Like that's it's the way of the future. So as long as you have good operations and you've got them not over the crowd, essentially, then it should be fair game. Like it should be in there to give you a different perspective and a more intimate look at the game because we can manage it now. But I will say that most baseball stadiums, like if you think about how close the foul lines are, why aren't there more cameras embedded in the walls, right? Kind of like at waist height, so you can get a good angle on everything else. You can even have them zoom in certain areas if you want. Like those kinds of things. Like stadiums are not temporary, unlike the Trop is, sort of. But most times when you're building one, when they build their next ones, it's going to be there for 30, 40 years, maybe 50, right?
right.
Longer if they're lucky and they build a historic version of one. But with that in mind, in the next one, they should definitely amp up those kinds of perspectives as well. Because I feel like if we're going to be going ABS, we're going to be going more and more with the automated calls being made, then we want the more evidence. Sometimes I feel like there aren't enough camera angles and certain plays, like tags and everything else. I'm like, where are all the cameras? Like they're not that expensive, you know? Hmm.
When you're talking about that, it seems like they would be more elevated. You see some cameras at minor leagues in placement now. Sometimes it's a GoPro shaking on a fence, but uh, they see the necessity for it there. So you would expect by the time you got to the major leagues that they would have more of that. And I wonder if Matt will see that too, because with the addition with I don't know, but more and more robots, more and more having the AI analyze what's happening on the field, if that's something we'll see more cameras and need for that.
Yeah, I think the other thing that comes out, in my mind in terms of the win tonight by the Rays is the fact that they're at 500 again. I know we're just 10 games into the season, but we had Josh on, earlier and he was talking about 500. That's probably where the Rays are going to be. And he's bang on right now. Now, having said that, they're not going up against the most elite teams. The Cubs are good, don't get me wrong. But the Twins weren't expected to win. They've faced, up and down basically each series
Right.
in terms of what were the expectations. And early in the season, any team can beat any team. Let's face it. Every team's trying to feel out their roster, their lineup. They're getting their wheels under them. But I think it's good for the Rays to get some momentum because when you look across the AL East right now, the Jays are banged up. There's a lot going on with Alejandro Kirk going to the IL. He's a major piece of their lineup. And without Bo Bichette as well, it puts a lot of pressure on Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's going to get pitched around a lot more now, I feel, without Alejandro Kirk in that lineup. Unless Addison Barger is able to actually come out of his shell again, and perform this year like he did last year, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble in terms of run production. And their pitching hasn't been extremely healthy either. So
Mm.
you look at that, and then you look at the Orioles and Red Sox have had surprisingly cold starts. I watched the entire series of the Orioles against the Pirates, and I was not impressed with the Orioles. Let me tell you, there's something not jiving yet with their momentum. Some of their defensive plays, like Dylan Beavers in the outfield, just terrible. No reads on the balls hit to him at all. Pete Alonso looks like his timing just isn't there in terms of getting to balls. Anyways, I could go up and down their roster, but it just feels like they are looking for something, a spark, a
Yeah.
series, that takes off, and then probably they'll be fine and they'll get back in the swing of things. But it was interesting to see the Pirates dominate them the way they did
Mm.
and really have a certain energy. Like you feel a vibe from the Pirates that just says, we're in it this year. Like, and
Yeah.
we know it, and we're going to attack every team that we come up against. That's sort of what will help you gain an advantage early enough in the season that you can ride out the times when you're going to be struggling during the year. So it was interesting to watch that going on.
It was interesting this morning when I got up and I looked at the MLB standings, and you said we were number two. At the time, we were 4 and 5, and that put us in the number two slot in the AL East. And it's like, oh, okay, there's a birthday gift as we open up the new stadium. So that was something. But now, like you said, hey, we're 500, man. We're 5 and 5. We're on a 3-game winning streak, and if we win tomorrow, that'll be 2 series in a row, boys and girls. Yes, pure excitement. I can't wait. Oh,
If the Rays win tomorrow, both Florida teams are going to be above 500. Oh my
mm.
goodness. That's a
Now,
little crazy.
yeah, I know, yes, I have to catch up again with our buddy Lou, get him back on here. That reminds me, need to schedule time for Brent to be on the show. Get the Brent the Cardi show, get him to talk a little bit more about the Jays. Maybe let a couple more games get underneath all of our belts before we have that conversation. But he's always got a lot of good insights. But I was a little dumbfounded to see them. I thought they would be doing better than we were. I mean, we're even obviously this the other day. And the Orioles, Alonso, there's a lot of weight there. There's a lot of high expectations on that. But the Red Sox, 2-7, come on, woof.
Yeah. It's not just that, it's that they have a minus 15 run differential. And what we had praised the most for them was the pitching.
Yeah,
So they had gone out and gotten, Sonny Gray, who's supposed to be a really huge addition to the rotation. They have Ranger Suarez that they added to the rotation. Garrett Whitlock is strong. They have Garrett Crochet. They have our oldest Chapman, Brian Bello. There is no reason for them to be struggling as much as they are. Now, I do remember, I could be wrong, but I think this has happened before with Alex Cora as their manager, and they came back out of it and they actually did extremely well down the road. But I feel like some teams just have a hard time starting out. Sometimes it can be like trades that hit them the wrong way, like Rafael Devers happened
oh,
for the Red Sox, and that had led to a long struggle. Um, this time it's Alex Bregman leaving. So how much of an impact did that have on the team and the adjustment that takes place afterwards? But every team is going to go through those lows and have to adjust down the road. They definitely have the talent to get back into things and a couple of good series and they're right back in it.
yeah.
Baseball's such a long season, Mark. It's crazy when you think about it.
Well, I mean, and we talk a lot about injuries in players and pitchers in 162 games, and how many games those pitchers expect to pitch, and how many innings that's going to be, and the anticipation of being able to achieve higher speed all the time to those pitches. I'm gonna. I know I'm diverging a little bit here, but I can't help but keep going back to what you've said time and again, and that is expanding the number of players on the roster with a couple of more pitchers. And I think that's an absolute. So I know this is what we're going to talk about the Rays opening day. I think that is one of those key issues we need to continue to address. We've had so many different folks on here who can attest to basically teams will wear out a pitcher's arm without really any care about that individual. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you have to love them and everything and put them to bed at night, but you have to treat them like a human being instead of just a commodity. And that's what's happened a lot. So, well, Kevin pulled Shane today after 4 innings. I want to have Shane around for a long time. So if
Yeah.
that's what it takes, then go ahead
I
and do
think
it.
I think what you notice with Shane is that he's just not locating the way that he wants to. So his command is off, right? And that's what leads to more walks, but he's still extremely hard to hit.
Yeah.
So like if it was combined like a combination of really high hits and really high walks, then you start to worry and you say, okay, well, they're just seeing the ball a certain way. He's just not locating the way that he wants to.
Yeah.
Like tonight, he had one hit and four walks. So the walks were eating up his pitches. You have to rebuild the arm strength. He's been gone for now like 3 years essentially.
Yes.
And so rebuilding that from scratch is quite a thing to do. I think it's if anybody needs to be reined in and kind of harnessed, it's Shane McClanahan because his attitude is very go, 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 no matter what, give it your all and leave it all on the field. That is not good when you're trying to rebuild arm strength. That is something that you need mitigated. And I know he's more mature now than he was before. And I know that just looking at the velocity that he's throwing at. He's not trying to hit the 98, 99s, 100s. He's working at the 94s, 95s. That's where he needs to be to have longevity and rebuild that strength. If he does well this year, he does well next year, and then he wants to amp it up in terms of getting back into that 96, 97 range. Maybe decide you pick your moments when you want to reach those velocities, but he doesn't need to. He has enough movement in late life on his pitches that I feel like he could be more of a John Smoltz style pitcher where he just pinpoints things and adds velocity and takes it away when he wants to, and plays more of that game now that he's a little bit more mature, which is, for a lefty, I mean, we've seen Chris Sale go through that, and he did extremely well when he was healthy and he actually composed himself and went to the Braves and had a really strong season. That's what I want to see from Shane McClanahan. I don't want to see him ramp it up too quickly, get to 8 innings, 9 innings, whatever. That would make me sad,
Yeah.
especially in April. Like if you want to do that in September because he's feeling good, he's feeling great, and he's going into the playoffs, and you want to build up that length for whatever reason, which they really don't need,
Yeah.
then sure, okay, maybe. But in April, like just we'll ease up, work into it, and see how it goes. But I'm glad he's on the mound. Like I'm really happy for him that he's back out there.
Yeah, I know he is, and I think we are too. It's just going to take a bit to adjust his head to say, okay, this is what they're going to let me do. Like you said, he is a determined young man, and I'm sure he wants to pitch as much as he can. But today we're able to see him do some change up in speed too, that maybe a ball would be placed the same as it was the previous pitch, but instead of 92, it might move down to 87 or 84, going ahead and making it difficult for the batter to know when to swing that bat. If even if it looked like the same pitch that he had previously given. So it's magic to watch that sort of thing happen. And I really, really look forward to seeing him for the rest of the year. So like I said, as much as I'd like to see him play more innings today, I think Kevin made the right call. So
Absolutely.
so but I will be interested to see how some of these other teams do in the AL East, especially the Red Sox, who just seem suffering so much. And like you pointed out, history repeats itself somewhat. And I remember, was it last year, year before, with the conversations with Devers? Devers just was not in a attitude where he wanted to play because of where they wanted to move him from. Was it from third to first?
I have some news though that are Rays related, which is that the Toronto Blue Jays have, like we said before, have been dealing with a lot of injuries. They actually recalled Josh Fleming, lefty that used to pitch for the Rays, and he had bounced around to the Pirates as well in between. But now he's with the Blue Jays, and they just called him up because of all the injuries that they have with Cody Ponce and other arms. I think Lauer's sick. He's not exactly on IL for long term, but anyways, so they called him up, and I'm happy for him. Like we kind of look sometimes at X-rays and what they're doing across the board, and I love to see them get new opportunities when they can get it. I think people like forget that as a 25-year-old with the Rays, he won 10 games, in 2021. And he was a big piece that we thought that they were going to have a little bit longer than what they did, but unfortunately it didn't work out for him. He had tried to kind of go into the pen for a little bit. So I'm not sure what role he's going to have with the Blue Jays. Is going to have him start or, you know, pop in after an opener or something like that. But I'm curious to see what he's added since he left the Rays and the Pirates, and what he can do now that he's 29 years old and a little bit more mature.
It's interesting seeing any player as they progress, and certainly after they leave the Rays. I mean, it's a big part of what we talk about a lot of times on the shows. The X-rays, where are these guys now? And thanks for bringing that up. And I'm looking ahead what we have coming here to, let's see, Matt. So we've got the Cubs here, and we win tomorrow, then we'll take the series. So we'll try to do that. Then the Yankees come, and they're coming here to Tampa, and we get to have them here as our guests for 3 games. Then let's see what else, brother. We got the White Sox. White Sox, I forget who they played the other day, and they did better than I thought they would. I have to take a little bit more deeper into that.
I think it was the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
They did really well against them. I think the White Sox are gonna be pesky against a lot of people in their series. Like they have a decent amount of talent that they can bounce you if you're not careful.
Well, they've certainly have a lot to make up for after last year. And let's see, then we've got then the Pirates come here.
Oh, we're at the
Yeah.
Pirates. We're at the
Oh,
Pirates.
you're right. We're at the Pirates. We're at the Pirates. My apologies.
That stadium, Mark, I have to get there at some point. Like
Yeah.
it's just such a beautiful view and stadium and a really great atmosphere. Like it feels like, the players that are there right now having a good time and doing well are spoiled because now they have the good team. They've got the fans, from what I've seen, are coming out, and the stadium is just awesome. Like I really hope that momentum for them continues, except for the race series. For that one, they can lay a goose egg and move on from there.
Oh gosh. About a goose egg. I was planning on going to see the Rays in Minneapolis, and for a lot of reasons, but primarily I was looking and said, well, am I going to be able to get a flight that will actually, I won't be in line longer than Disney to get to the ride. But uh, that seemed to be working itself out to some degree. But the thing was, man, it was going to be like ice and snow. And I'm sorry, but my sweet little sunshine self did not want to be there at all. Aaron and I went to that one game in Boston a couple years ago. It was 42 degrees out and sleeting, at the same time, which is kind of weird. I'm just not going to subject myself to that kind of cold. I would not mind going up to Target Field and seeing them play. I will be going to see Kansas City later this month with them playing the Angels, and that's going to be pretty cool.
I enjoyed their stadium. The barbecue in the outfield is outstanding, and the atmosphere as a whole is really solid. We had a great time chatting with everybody around us. We were mostly military folk talking to a whole bunch of different variety of people in the outfield seats. The thing that I kind of enjoyed was um, I don't know, like you go to certain stadiums and they're kind of friendlier than most in terms of the general chattiness of everyone around them. And like nobody cursed. Everybody was on their own, thing, which was really rare in the outfield.
Yeah.
And everybody was like of the most I don't know. It was almost like if you went back into the 60s, right? And or the late 50s. And everybody's like, "Oh golly gee, oh jaw, oh gosh, like what happened here?" And it was just odd, to be honest. Like I was like, "Geez, this is like being back in Canada. What's going on here?" So I,
Wow.
I enjoyed it, and I thought the team itself is always kind of fun to watch. The Royals, especially now, you're going to get to see Bobby Witt Jr. go up against Mike Trout. I mean, come on, those are two faces that you definitely want to get some eyes on. You've got Joe Adele, who's putting on a show now as well. You're going to love it, but I imagine you also have plans to go to the Negro Leagues museum that while you're there.
Most certainly, that's actually part of why I make this trip, is I do want to go there. And there's just so much, so much history of the game that we lost over the years. And Bob Kendricks, I think, has done a fantastic job to continue to promote the history of the Negro Leagues. He's been out there, he's talked on several shows and such, that he's keeping people aware. And
Mhm.
especially now that the Negro Leagues a couple of years ago was integrated into the Major League Baseball as far as stats, and people like, Josh Gibson or other ones are folks that many would never even have heard of otherwise. So I'm
What's
excited
cool
about
about
that.
what's cool about that museum is that you feel like you're going down into an underground vault. Like this is being kept away in case there's some sort of explosion and things get destroyed. This will be intact. You will not have a problem.
Oh
Uh,
man. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, this past week instead, I went to Canada, or had a 10-minute wait. No, I was at Disney World, everybody, and Epcot. So, there I was in Germany. Then 2 minutes later, I'm in Canada, and
Yeah.
it was, it was great. They do it's completely diverging over here, but
Mm.
the presentation at Epcot for Canada is not. It was one of those 360, rooms where you stand and you just trying to keep up with whatever's going on.
Yeah.
But it was such a great travel log, Karen. So he looks over and says, "We're going there, aren't we? We're going there." I mean, it was boy. I tell you what, is a great advertisement. Uh, Jeez, Louise. No,
Did they have any beaver tails, at the stand outside?
I didn't see that. I saw some totems and some other things as well. Some First Nation people things there, but
Yeah, for
we
anybody that doesn't know, beaver tail is essentially like imagine a really large, like pizza-like, well, half a pizza of a donut, right? Flattened, and
okay.
then you fry it, and then you put it in sugar or any kind of toppings that you want, cinnamon, nutmeg, whatever it is. Sometimes maple syrup is drizzled over it, or maple butter, and a whole bunch of stuff that will make it very tasty, but definitely heavy. So when you've eaten one of those, your body's just like your heart is pumping, and you're wondering when your energy levels are going to go back down.
Oh, well, it sounds delightful. As we were in Landover, and to see the Canada presentation, you could smell maple syrups somewhere or another. There was maple syrup being used in a recipe. It's
Yeah.
like, this is it. This is it. Oh my. Yeah, it was quite something. Yeah, that was the alternative since we couldn't make it up to Minnesota, and probably did just as well, if not better, with the day.
Is, is there a stadium you haven't been to yet that you're looking to get to, in the near future?
Petco, Petco. I want to go to Petco, but well, we'll
Yeah.
probably go. Trying to think, I can't think of the names of the stadiums. We will probably make an effort to get to Texas this year and see both the Rangers and the Astros.
Mm.
And I'm curious to see the Rangers because I know that the previous stadium had the roof that was like on a slide that would slide over or out. And I think it may be the same sort of design. I believe they built it across the street from the original one. So that should be interesting. And then, of course, the Astros, that's got to be something to see too. So both of those are probably going to be in the list, but Petco is definitely one I want to go to.
Yeah, I think I'm planning on going to Mile High at some point, but I'm waiting for the Rockies to be competitive. So I kind of think, 2042, somewhere around.
Oh, oh, you're harsh. You're harsh.
If there's any Rockies fans listening, I apologize. I had to take that shot.
Oh, I get it though, brother. I do.
Oh man.
Well,
No,
here,
in all honesty, there's like a good dozen stadiums that are on my bucket list to kind of go to and hit up, but tops among them is Wrigley Field because it's the one of the, oldest ones that I haven't been to, and I kind of regret it. I missed it by 2 days when I was driving through Chicago with my brother and my dad. So I was really mad. I was like, oh man, I like just wanted that to be part of the event of going through. Fortunately, it didn't work out. So hopefully I'll get another opportunity at some point and take the kids with me at the same time.
yeah, a piece of history like that. I mean, we talked before, and I told you about the year we went to Camden Yards, but we also went to Fenway. And just Fenway, as much as beautiful as Camden Yards is, it's not Fenway is Fenway, the history and all that. There's nothing like being in a stadium uh, that has that much history that you're surrounded by. I mean, it's like ghost almost. There's like a vibe
Yes.
that's penetrating through the wood and the steps as you go through there, and you can almost hear the voices of fans from the past, calling out for their Red Sox to win a game, and that part of it is unique. So as much as you may like or dislike the stadium itself, there's that history and experience that cannot be matched.
I don't know how they do it at Fenway, Mark, but I watched Pedro Martinez pitch there a half dozen times,
Yeah.
and there's an over top of the field feeling, like an intimacy. Like I remember watching it the first time I was there. I was maybe 3 rows up from first base, and I was watching Mo Vaughn, and he felt like he was right next to me.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I was almost the first base coach. That's how little foul area there is as compared to Camden, where you do have a healthy foul area. I haven't done the measurements, but it feels like that anyhow. Either that or the seats are so sunken in comparison that you are a little bit closer. I don't know what it is, but there's something about Fenway that you're right. There is a soul to it. You feel it when you're walking around, you're getting concessions. You're just and I felt it as well when I went to the old Yankee Stadium.
Mhm.
I did not with the new Yankee Stadium. I felt quite the opposite. You know, when you walk through a mall like where you can't afford anything because it's so high end,
Yeah.
that's how I feel walking through Yankee Stadium, the new version.
Oh, my,
You
my.
know, they have all these high-end stores. You're like in Monaco, right? In Europe somewhere where you're just like, oh, well, this isn't for me. I'm supposed to be I'm supposed to be across the street somewhere.
Jeez.
Um, yeah. So I'm glad that those stadiums still exist, and they should be an example, really. If they're able to keep Wrigley and Fenway going the way they are, this is my argument about the Rays. Build something historically relevant that is unique enough to draw your attention and give you that staple
Mhm.
that makes it your own. And I'm not sure they're there yet. Like I realize that angle thing and there's value to some of the things that they're putting in. And honestly, I haven't been inside it, so I can't really judge, right? But the materials that you're using matter also. Like the ivy in Wrigley is that
Yeah.
uniqueness. I'm not saying they should build a wall in left field, but there's something they could do to make it unique enough, and it doesn't really cost much. Like you ask Wrigley Field, the upgrades they did, I don't remember how much they paid for them. I want to say it's 350 million to keep it the way that it is, but the
Right.
original build wasn't overly complicated. Camden, I don't believe, broke the bank. And
No.
look at how unique that one is. The new Pittsburgh Pirates Stadium, same thing. They have the right angle, the right view, the right whatever. Like it's about the ambiance that you're creating. When you pop on the highlights and you see it, you're like, boom, that's that stadium.
Yeah.
Boom, that's that stadium. You know right away. And that gives it a sort of historical feel. And I hope the Rays get that in whatever they build. Because I'll tell you right now, I watch a Marlins game. I'm not sure I get that. I don't like I get it's an indoor stadium. And you could tell me it's Marlins, or you could tell me it's the Rangers or the Astros. And I couldn't tell between the three. Like all three of those are interchangeable in my mind.
Nobody else has that bobblehead museum that just continues to vibrate over there on the outfield. Oh, God.
Am I
No.
wrong? Is there something unique about those that you could tell right off the bat?
No, there really isn't. And I do too hope that the Rays find something that established itself with the area. At the one point when they were looking at putting it at Ybor and possibly even looking out at the water, to me that was something. This past week I was down at DeSoto Park, which is south of Ybor, south of anyway, and I just looked out there at the water because this was one of the places when they were looking at potentially having a ballpark there. I thought, wow, it was just so beautiful. And the sad thing was, like so many other things, would have displaced a history of a park and recreation of so many players from the past. But coming back to what you're saying as far as feeling the spirit of like at Wrigley and being able to take that with you, that's something. It's more than a ball game. It's more than can architects and owners find a way to instill that in us with whatever they're working on today. I don't know that the Rays have that yet. We'll see.
It's attention to detail. It's
Yeah.
all the finer little things that make it the way that it is. I'll just go back to something that you said earlier as well about the rosters and the pitchers. I think the solution there is the day after a starter pitches,
Yeah.
he's not available to the team. So that maintains the same amount of active players. It's just that the starting pitcher from the day before or the game before is not applicable to that 26-man roster. So you're not really adding a 27th.
Ah,
You're just discounting the pitcher that threw the day before. That way you can add an extra reliever, right? So I think that is the solution in my mind. So like no team that I can think of in the history of starting pitching has used the same starter on two consecutive games. So you're not losing anything, right?
yeah.
The- If anything, what it will do, and this is why the MLBPA should be for it, is it means that one more player on each team gets paid major league money.
Yep.
So it creates an extra spot. It protects from overuse of relievers and overuse of starting pitchers. So then the manager has one more weapon that he can use. If he's got a Warren pen, if he's got whatever, then he's able to mitigate and not injure anyone and not ask freaking position players, even in a down and out game, to come out and pitch, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to say that we need to make that illegal or non because sometimes it just gets crazy, to be honest. But it you should give them enough ammunition that it becomes irrelevant, in my opinion.
I like that. I mean, let here, just jumping from that to a moment. When a pitcher gets a penalty and he's saying, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to pitch for your penalty is 10 games.
Mhm.
It's two times that he can't get up there, right? They're not saying, in rotation. You're saying, so if you're looking at that as a penalty, why couldn't you take that same philosophy? I mean, because you're not measuring it accurately anyway. I mean, in most cases, it would be all the two times is all it would be there anyway. So I like what you're saying. It makes sense to me. So hopefully MLB will pick it up. I like MLBPA. We know there's going to be all kinds of stuff with the CBA, and this is as good a time as any. If they're going to be chewing hard on what's going to be coming up, this is the time for them to really address some more long-term issues on players' health, and that's to me what you're
Yes.
providing as an answer.
So I hope that they put the salary cap issue on the back burner
Yeah.
and that they address more of the finer things like what we're just talking about right now. Do that first, right? Bring up the health of the game, do expansion, and then talk about what you want to change in terms of salary cap and everything else.
Mhm.
I don't think it's fair to bring expansion teams in after you do the vote on the salary cap issue.
Yeah.
I think that just, it takes them out of the equation. Like they should be included in that decision if they're going to be part of the league for the next 50 to 100 years, right? Like it's almost like it's I don't know, cutting them off at the knees, I guess is the best way to put it. But,
Oh, yeah, you want to come play with us? Oh, by the way, since you've agreed to join us, we're going to go ahead and we're going to kneecap you here right now with a certain new rule, okay? Or
yeah,
you've got to come up with an extra $1 billion, whatever.
yeah.
It's ridiculous. No, I agree with you. Hopefully they'll see the light of day on that, Matt. Well,
Mhm.
just
So the Rays brought in 25,114 people tonight. What
mhm.
do they bring in tomorrow?
Boy, isn't that the tell? Jeez. So we're looking at a Tuesday. We're looking at Tuesday evening. And I hate to say it, but we'll probably be lucky to hit 17.
Mhm. I'm curious because this is the time when you start to measure, right, the impact of the new ownership, the impact of because we have a vote coming up in a week, Mark, or a week and a bit, that's going to be extremely impactful, right? If that vote has there been any talk about what the repercussions of that vote are? Like if that vote goes astray
Yeah.
on the 15th and they don't support for whatever reason, millions of different reasons they can come up with, if it goes astray, have they said these are the repercussions of that? Right? Because that's a Stu Sternberg play. If you don't support this, then I'm taking my ball and I'm going home, right? That's a little bit of the play that he would have come up with. So my thought process is this, like there are probably inner workings going on in the background that we don't know anything about. So for us to sit here and judge anything about the stadium at this point is kind of crazy. It's repeating. We've kind of thrown it all around. We know the Orlando option is very alive and very well. We know that the Nashville option is probably very similar, that they would jump on the chance to get a team, etc. So I'm very curious in today's political financial climate where the cost of everything is skyrocketing, the cost of gas, the cost of groceries, the cost of whatever, to sit there and tell a population that you're going to give them $1.15 billion to build a complex in a city, it seems like a very non-Tampa style thing to do. But is there enough political will to put themselves out there and say, yeah, we'll support it? Like, what would how would the counselors there that vote for it be viewed, in your opinion, if they did support it?
There is so much controversy about spending even a single dollar on this project that
Hmm.
anybody that's even looking at doing that, they're going to be held. They won't win the next election.
Yeah.
They're going to be lame duck. And I don't know. That's why the Orlando thing does seem like it still has legs.
Mm.
I was trying to do a little research earlier to see if Zalewski, what kind of properties he had in Orlando. I wasn't able to find enough about it. But it was interesting today too, Matt. There was a point where they had a shot into uh, up there in the stands, and actually probably more of a suite. And there was the governor side by side with Zalewski, and they were just chatting away. And DeSantis is just laughing, and Zalewski's kind of nodding a little bit here and there, and a slight grin goes across his face, and I'm thinking, my gosh, what are they talking about?
On that point, is DeSantis more tied to Orlando or more tied to Tampa? Like every governor has their leniency, right? In terms
Yeah,
of, so it's hard to tell. Like, yes, they could be chummy and happy, and I can guarantee you Stu Sternberg never would have had DeSantis in his suite. But what does it mean? Is it an Orlando thing? Is it a, because it's all real estate driven
yeah.
in reality. So I still can't wrap my head around it. Like I know they are so like I said before, the cost of the franchise was lower than what expansion will be, in my opinion. So they got a bargain.
No doubt,
So
no doubt.
in that sense, anything is possible. So it's kind of a really strange place to be, Mark. And I'm looking forward to a potential resolution, but I'm kind of cringing at it continuing on. Like you just saw today, a new roof on the stadium. I don't think St. Petersburg would bat an eye if they said, you know what, we're going to stick it out till 2030 and we'll figure it out, right? Like it could happen.
Yeah.
They could say, we just did some upgrades, we'll do a little bit more, we'll add a little bit, and then we'll see what happens at 2030. So I don't know, Mark. Are we going to be sitting here in 2030 having these conversations about the
Lord,
stadium?
no. No, 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 no. Hopefully, we'll be that life will have changed somewhat by then. But I do want to take this moment, though, to thank Stu Sternberg and St. Pete for all they did to try to keep the Trop going, and St. Pete and the people there, and the new owners as well, to be able to make this opening day a reality. And
Mhm.
all the hard work it took, whether it be people climbing up on the beams and laying down new tarp or whatever fabric they have up there, or the people in the front offices, and certainly in the middle of a transition of ownership. I think that the bit of a Herculean effort to have gotten us to where we could have that opening day today, and I just want to say thank you to all the folks who made that possible.
That's outstanding, Mark, and a very good point. All those St. Petersburg counselors who had options, to be quite honest, in
Yeah,
terms when they pulled the plug on things, and they could have, I think there's previous mayors in St. Petersburg that would have pushed to throw tantrums, right? And
yeah,
not do things as smoothly as what took place. Takes a lot of maturity to do that, and a lot of forthright application of funds, and going gritting your teeth and saying, yep, this is what we agreed to, this is what we're going to do. So 56 million is nothing to sneeze at to throw into a stadium for the few years that they'll have it the way it is. If ever the Rays do move out of the Trop, Mark, I want to see a permanent fixture of Cirque du Soleil there. It's the perfect stadium for it. They have the roof exactly the way a circus would want it. Like, put a permanent one there. Like, make some use of it and draw people in with that.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All righty. You got any other goodies to share, Matt?
No, I'm packing after this, so I'm gonna be busy for an hour or more yet.
All right, my friend. Well, I want to thank you all again for joining us here on the opening day of the Tampa Bay Rays. Hope you enjoyed the game. You've got a chance to see it. If not, find some place you can and rewind, whatever. Even find the what's the little abbreviated games. Those are always kind of fun if you missed them the night before.
Okay.
So check those out. Well, Matt, thanks again, buddy. It's always great being here with you.
Always great, Mark. Thanks for having me, and hopefully we get above 500 by the time we meet again.
Amen. All right. All right, everybody. Thanks again. And we look forward to talking with you again real soon.
If you enjoyed this show, go ahead, like, and subscribe to Baseball Biz on Deck. You may also find Baseball Biz on Deck on YouTube, at iHeartApple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and at baseballbizondeck.com. Also, you can find Matt at matgermain.bskysocial. That's Matt at matgermain.bskysocial, or Mark at baseballbizondeck.bskysocial and Baseball Biz on Deck with Facebook.
Bongs.